All right, everybody, we're going to talk about the process to creating a page. So I don't just grab my Genko Yoshi and start drawing panels and start drawing. I know exactly what I'm going to put down before I start. I'm going to introduce thumbnails and the name or name. This is something you all are going to be turning in during the semester, so this is important to pay attention to. So before I do this, I always start here. Right? I'm figuring out what's happening on the page, right? So a lot of these images that I'm drawing, I'm going through multiple passes. A lot of these images don't actually make it to the final page, right? So I have these two characters squaring off. There was a point where I was going to have them facing the camera. This one I was going to have sort of the camera at like a low 3/4 angle. I decided not to do that. It's important to sketch these out to know what doesn't work, right? I do a lot of sketches before I get to my final draft. And these are thumbnails, right? I do like a really rough rendition of what the page is gonna look like. If you can see, it's pretty much exactly what's on there. I ended up taking that part out. But this is just for composition, right? Thumbnails are very important. Since I started using these, I got better. So I know what everything looks like before I put it down. You don't want to just have the idea in your head and then go here. You need to know what it looks like. After I do my thumbnails and I got my sketches and stuff, I do, in manga, it's called name, which is essentially a rough draft. This is what gets sent to the editors, okay? Editors don't look at the final manuscript draft. They already trust their artist after that. What you all are going to submit to me before you start on your final drafts is you're going to submit your name. And I'm going to show you some more examples of that. So essentially, what I do is I take an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper, turn it this way, I cut it in half, and then I design all my pages. So I don't necessarily draw the images well, but I draw them well enough to be understood, right? You can understand what's happening, and you see how it translates here. I'll show you all a little bit more process stuff. So that's one page. Here's how I work. Here's how I want you to work. Right? So it looks messy, maybe. A lot of sketches. I don't want you to be lazy and just, unless you're really confident in your drawing ability, but every professional that I know does this. Draw a lot of sketches, right? Figure out what these things look like. They don't have to be fully realized drawings, but all of these, before I put them on a page, I'm sketching them out. I'm figuring out what these pages look like, right? This was a throwaway page I didn't even use, but I had to draw it so I know I wasn't going to use it. These are all thumbnails for pages. Some of them I've drawn, some of them I haven't, right? I'm just figuring out where things go, writing some text, making multiple passes before I create my actual thing. I'm going to show you some of the images from a fight scene that I drew. So here, when I'm composing this and figuring this one out, I'm drawing a lot of different fighting. I knew I wanted to have them fight. I didn't know exactly what I wanted to have them do, so I'll show a little bit of my process for how I figured that out. So I knew I wanted to have this character, rush suddenly at this character when the referee says start. At first, I had sort of like a horizontal rush. Right, had some arrows going that way, tried to draw it here, tried to see what it looked like here. I ended up changing it to a vertical drawing, but before I drew this, I wanted to sketch it out. So I sketched it, right? I want to know that I can draw what I'm about to draw. I want to know what it looks like on a sheet of paper before I draw the actual thing. It makes it take longer, but it makes your work better. I highly recommend you all do this, because at first I was going to do it this way. Right? It was more like a box panel, and I decided to make it vertical. So I drew so many different things, right, before I got to the final draft. Here are some more sketches, just figuring out stuff that happened. So I'll show you all a double page spread. So this spread here. So that comes immediately after that one I just showed you. So how I got to here, right? So a swing and a miss, I wasn't sure what the swing and a miss was going to look like, so I tried it from some different angles, right? But the thing that I want you all to submit to me before your final manuscript drafts is this. This is the exact same page. This is the name, right? This is the name. I switched some things, right? That was a mistake, so this ended up going up here. But essentially, it's the same artwork, right? It's this. Do this first. You turn these in for a grade. This is what a name looks like. It doesn't have to be, the drawings don't have to be fully realized. They can just be sketched. But when I see it, I want to know what's happening. Again, in the manga industry, this is what the artist submits to their editor. And the editor can make adjustments before it gets like approved for them to draw the final draft. Obviously, I'm trying to enter the industry, so I don't have I'm my own editor right now. But I'm going to be your editor for this class. So make sure before you start these, you submit these, and I might make some adjustments, and then you can move on to your manuscript draft. That's going to be our workflow for this course. I'll show you one more page from start to finish so you can get an idea of the flow. So here, I was just kind of figuring stuff out, very early phase. I was having a conversation between two characters. I knew how I wanted it to feel, right? First, I had an editor from Kodansha once tell me, this is like the biggest manga publisher, from Kodansha once tell me, when you're creating a scene or when you're creating a story, you want to think at the end, how does your reader feel when they turn to the last page, and then work backward from there to create your story. So I knew how I wanted my reader to feel at the end of the scene. And then I just started doing some sketches of stuff that happens. And then I finally figured out a thumbnail, right? Then I moved on to the name. Got the name down, right? Now I know what it looks like, right? This is a very important step. I don't just jump straight to the final draft from the thumbnail. Sometimes I do. But I usually draw the name first because I want to see what it looks like, especially next to the other page. After that, so I got my thumbnails, I got my name, which you're going to submit. Then I have the manuscript draft, right? Just do with mechanical pencil on manga Genko Yoshi. And then I personally use Clip Studio. Some of you are probably going to be working analog. I think many of you are going to be working digitally. I'm going to incorporate some Clip Studio lessons because it's great for manga, great for comics. After that, I scan it in and I ink and add tones and stuff like that and do all my effects, which I'll explain to you all how I do that stuff. And then finally, I do a separate layer for an English version. That way I have two versions. But before you do all this, you got to submit this to me. And before you submit this to me, plan, sketch, right? A lot of drawing manga is this, right? This is what most of my drawings look like. All right, that's it for this video.